இப்போ தான் மே மந்த் வந்து 25th சென்னை புக் கிளப் செலிப்ரேட் பண்ணோம். கண்ணு மூடி திறக்கிறதுக்குள்ள 40வது நிகழ்ச்சி நெருங்குறோம். ஸோ விரைவில் நம்ம வந்து 50th சென்னை புக் கிளப் வந்து இந்த எண்ட் ஆஃப் ஆகஸ்ட் ஆர் செப்டம்பர் பிகினிங்கே வந்துடும். ஃபியூ டேஸில் டேட் கன்ஃபார்ம் ஆகி சொல்கிறோம். டக்குன்னு அடுத்தது வந்துடும். 6 months கழிச்சு வரும்னு நினச்சா 4 monthsலேயே நம்மளுக்கு வருது. பிகாஸ் started to do many extra activities other than Sundays book club. ஸோ ரொம்ப ஸ்பீடப் ஆகுது நம்மளோட இது. Today's speaker is Alamelu Janaki. She's a reviewer of the day. She's going to review about the book called The Bad Girl by VARGAS LLOSA. She's doing her PhD in Presidency College under Kamalakannan sir. And she's right now professor in MDJ College of Engineering, Bangalore. She also worked as assistant professor in Mar Victorious College, Guru Sri Shanti Vijay College for Women, MGR Janaki College. And she also cleared NET. She's handling many subjects like business communication, professional writing, translation studies, literary theory, English for arts and science, communicative English, English for commerce and business administration, language and communication, personality development, American literature, film studies, literary theory, British literature, and the list adds on and on and on. She'll be handling many subjects like that. And she also, she's doing her PhD in the topic Gender, Race and Class in Adult Fiction by American women writers. She has published various articles. Some of the articles are The Origin and Evolution of Young Adult Fiction in an international magazine called Panaval. She also contributed a poem called Hope is Affordable in an anthology called Pension. And a poem titled Soar High and Uncertainty that published in Painting Dreams. She also went as a resource person in Soka Ikkada College and delivered a presentation on the joy of reading. She have cleared NFA in Japanese language proficiency test, won many inter-collegiate competition like JAM, Block and Tackle, Elocution and Creative Writing. She worked as an English news reader in the channel called Newspeak. She have also enacted in dramas at college events, enacted in Japanese drama staged annually at Rani CD Hall, Chennai, served in the college union as secretary, vice president for Rotary Club, and member of anti-ragging cell. Over to you, Janaki.
You can just leave it there on the.
Okay. So, I'm audible, right? So, hello everyone. I'm Alamelu Janaki, and the introduction made me quite nervous and shy. But then, anyways, nice meeting you all. So, I'm properly from Chennai, and post-marriage I moved to Bangalore. And right now I'm on my maternity break, so I'm back to Chennai and I'll go back to Bangalore again. So this meet is again sort of rekindling my interest towards reading and talking about it, meeting like-minded people and all. So I'm glad that I'm meeting you all today, and thanks for your time and coming today, despite being Sunday. So to talk about this book, Maria Vargas LLOSA's The Bad Girl, first I'll tell you how it made me feel when I read it initially. So when I read it initially, I was a teenager, like somewhere 16, 18, like that. And the book is titled The Bad Girl, and the one-liner would be this: there's a good boy who is irresistibly in love with this bad girl. So again, let's get into the stereotypes of good and bad a little later. This feeling made me long for someone who would love me like the good guy in the book. I still remember the feeling that I had, the unconditional, unfaltering love, despite her, being elusive and evasive. That feeling is so memorable in my mind still. Now, if I reread after many years, it is not that enticing, but still an engaging read, I would say. So the feeling made me choose this book for today. So basically, girls normally associate with these romantic notions of love and all that, particularly that we span in our life, right, where we find the poems and all these romantic writings to be more attractive, and we find some relatability in the joy of those words. So such is that writing for me. So now if I recall, there's more to the book than what I initially felt. So I would like to take you all through the book's plot and the characters and how it was for me. So
Firstly, to talk about his writer, Mario Vargas Llosa. He's a Latin American writer. In literature, there was a period called Latin American boom, where all these Latin American writers came into prominence all of a sudden, like Gabriel Garcia Marquez with his 100 Years of Solitude, and so many such writers. And there won a lot of Nobel Prizes for literature as well. So at that time, he became quite prominent, and his writings covers various aspects. There's this Feast of Goat and Aunt Julia and the scriptwriter. At one point, he'll be writing very serious political books where it covers a lot of historical happenings, and there'll be one a side to the book where there's very serious, passionate love, indulgence, and all of this. So this Bad Girl, it deals with the concept of obsessive love. So love is this emotion which can never be cliched, right? Love is something time and again we see people, we see media representations, we see art representations talking about love, covering about love from different perspectives and in different forms. But never it has become cliched, or never it has become an ancient or a distant emotion. It still feels modern, it still feels relevant, and I think it will continue to do so. So this book deals with this aspect of love and obsessive love. And there's a pattern in this book where we find the good boy being exploited by the bad girl, right? Now again, there are stereotypes of being good, there are stereotypes of being bad. Let's talk about that first. So a person who is called to be good or associated with goodness is reliable, is trustworthy, is loyal, and he's true to himself, right? He will not deceive others, he's not exploitative and all that. All these characteristics will apply to this guy called Ricardo or Ricardito, right? Ricardo, whatever he's being called in different names, Ricardo and Ricardito throughout the book. Now there's this girl, the bad girl. There's no particular or one singular name to her, because every chapter we see her taking new names, like Lily for instance, and then Artlet for one instance. So she wears different masks on, there's no proper name. Throughout the book we see her being referred to as bad girl also. So this girl, I don't know for what exact reason she's typically called bad, but she wants to explore the world, right? She wants to have more in life. She can never be satiated. There'll be never a point where she's okay with what she has. She wants to, long for more. Though she chooses a married or a rich guy or a powerful guy at one instance, she's not content. She wants more. So she keeps moving on. She keeps changing masks. She keeps deceiving men with power and money and all that. So on little breaks, she comes and meets this our good boy, and this feels like a pattern. This happens continuously. I'll go detailed. I'll tell you detail about the plot, but as a gist, I'm telling you. So on the little breaks, between her lovers, she comes to this good boy, and as a good boy, he takes her willingly. And there's a pattern in the book which is very evident. But though we know what is going to happen, it's quite evident. After the second chapter, you'll know the girl will run off someday. She'll choose a rich guy and then she'll come back and all this. Still, you'll find the plot to be quite engaging, because every time an incident is told, the choice of words or the emotions of the good boy and the bad girl evolves. The book is more character driven than plot driven. So the entire book covers the span of this good boy and the bad girl. The book starts from 1950. He was around 15 years old, and the book ends when he was like 65. So throughout his years, he moves across countries and continents, and they keep meeting each other at different instances. They both evolve into different personalities, but what they share, the raw passion, the sensual love that they have for each other, is something which never diminishes over time. So this is the gist. So shall we go detailing into it? Are you all with me? Alright. So firstly, in the opening, I've introduced the characters to you, Ricardo and this bad girl. Bad girl takes different names. So Ricardo is a simple guy who prefers very modest living. All his life, his dream was to live in Paris. He's exposed to literature, and his literature exposure has made him long for Paris. Like, he thinks Paris is a city where there's more peace, there's more to art, there's more to literature and all that. So his simple dream is to live in Paris, not to make money, not to become famous, not to buy houses, all that. His simple dream is to live in Paris. That's all. He's not after money or any of this. So he is basically an orphan. When he was 10 years old, his parents died in a car accident, and he's been taken under control by the aunt, father's older sister, Aunt Alberta, and she seems to provide him for all the needs, education, and all of those things. And in the opening, in the first chapter, we find the setting is at Lima in 1950 when Ricardo is 15-year-old. So he meets this girl, Lily, the strange girl in the city, Lily. Lily and Lucy, they call themselves to be sisters, and they say they are from Chile, and the entire city has a fascination towards them, and the entire city looks up to them like as if they are these unattainable people, because they refuse to every proposal. That they go to all the parties, they dance, they sort of entice the boys, and they are the talk of the town. Now, Ricardo is also infatuated with this girl at the beginning, right? He develops a serious crush and he's infatuated. They go steady, right? There are a lot of moves, ups and downs, but she never, not even once, agrees to his proposal. He keeps on proposing her at different instances, but not even once we find him or her agreeing to his proposal. There's a serious denial consistently. So, and there are many instances where he goes and literally pleads also, but the girl is very stubborn, and even she lets him caress her, she lets him fondle her. There are sexual moves also. Though though she's very non-participative, she never stops any of those. So the readers are in a constant flux that does she enjoy it, does she propagate it. In fact, we feel that we are also manipulated by her like him, right? So that's a nice nuance to the book. So the first chapter ends this way. Suddenly her story of being from Chile is busted by one of the aunties around, and nobody knows where she is from and all that. She disappears, and the first chapter ends like that. In the second chapter, we see, like 10 years later, our protagonist Ricardo is in Paris. Very modest living. He's in his dream city. He's interpreting, translating and interpreting. He's working as a translator at UNESCO. There he happens to befriend this guy called Paul. Paul is a guerrilla fighter who is indulged in this Cuban revolution. The Cuban revolution with Fidel Castro has inspired or has some references in Peru also. So the Peruvian people wants to start a similar revolution. So they're all preparing for that. So he acquaints Paul. Through Paul, he happens to meet the bad girl again, now with a name called Comrade Arlette. So Comrade Arlette is more sensuous, more voluptuous than the last time he met her, and he again falls for her in a very visible, obvious way. So at that point he realizes he had never stopped loving her since the day one, right? So this time Comrade again exploits him. They go out, they meet, and all that happens. Now she asks him to relieve her from her military commitment, right? Because Peru has chosen a group of people and sent them to Paris under a commitment that they have to fight for the nation. Now this girl pleads to him requesting a release from the military commitment, saying that maybe I'll fall in love with you in the future, all that. But as we know, Ricardo is a simple guy, and what he's fighting for or what she's asking is so much more than in his hands to do. So he refuses, or he's not in a position to do it. This disappoints her and she goes back to Peru. And after a point, we hear news that she has fallen in love with a commander-in-chief who is very high in position. But then we realize it's just to, namesake, it's not love and all. She escapes from there, and again she comes to Paris. She marries a French diplomat, this time under name Madame Robert Anox. And he's a French diplomat, and being married to him, we find her sleeping with the good boy occasionally. They both know it's a setup, right? She wants more, and he is also aware that at some point she'll vanish. But then he is finding it irresistible to stop her, to say no to her. But he ends up wanting more. And in a way, she also relishes all the cheap sentiments which he, murmurs in her ear. So it's a sort of a painful, sickening, obsessive love. But though we feel sorry for both the characters, we end up being very curious, knowing what happens next. So second chapter again, she marries this French diplomat, and she sort of takes all the money he has in the Swiss bank, and she again escapes. Now after 4 years, this happens in like year break, like 10 years, 3 years, and then 4 years after that, he traces her that now she is in London. Now she is under the name Mrs. David Richardson. Richardson is a horse breeder in London. There again she goes there, but she hates the place so much, and again she wants to flee from the place. From there she flees to Japan. In Japan she is involved with a mysterious guy who is into this voyeuristic pleasure and who is into all sorts of not so decent sexual activities, like it's not just BDSM, more and more, which can harm herself, right? So he is like more of this master kind of thing who has controlled her mind. So that has caused a very, very strong impact on her. She has lost her personality and her sexual health, bodily health, all of this is taken into a toll. So there she is involved in activities which are really, which did cause a lot of trouble to her bodily, private organs, all of those too. Because those are all very dark and which are really not so very healthy practices, right? Just for the pleasure sake it's been happening. And this has damaged her soul and her body to a very great extent. Again here she brings this news to the good guy with a different story. She says she was in Lagos prison, she was in Africa, that the police raped her, all that. He feels very sorry for her and he goes out of his way and he gets lots of debts and he treats her and she is recovering, okay? When she is recovered completely, she again feels. This point, we are so angry on him for being such a stupid guy, right? Because he in fact sells his house, he's about to sell his house, he receives so much of loans and he takes lots of extra work, he goes on many errands, he travels all around, does a lot of interpreting job and he manages to save every small penny in order to save her, and she'll be so scared. Every night he'll come and treat her like a little child, keeping her in his lap and convincing her that it's fine. She'll have lot of panic attacks. Right, that incident with the Japanese gangster has bothered her so much and she'll have lot of panic attacks. He has almost given himself in the process of healing her. Then you find her disappearing one day, you'll be so angry on him and you'll want to like end the book there, can someone be this stupid? But then he'll be driven so crazily and he'll be about to commit suicide. But then there'll be a beggar in the road and he'll come and save him, and after 24 hours she comes back again. This time you'll be so frustrated, you'll be like, let's close this book, you don't want this, it's a bad obsession to the reader herself or himself. Now again she comes, she says, I can't live without you, and they go on for some time, and he goes back to Peru and a lot of things happen in between. Then what happens is at one point, she tells him directly that I can never be content in my life, I don't want to be a mediocre housewife doing this household chores and all. I don't think this excites me. She's almost 47 and imagine she's 47 years old and still there's an undying need for her to want for more and explore more, which I don't call it wrong, definitely not wrong to my eyes though, but maybe I don't know. But what I feel wrong is the way he is suffering because of her need. That is, traumatic for the reader as well, right? So she has opened up saying, I don't think this makes me very comfortable. I want you to have compassion for me, I want you to have this love for me, but if I continue living with you, I think you will lose that passion for me. Only if I come occasionally there'll be this moments of sensual bursts of passion. I don't know what if it was, but that's how she perceives the idea. So she says this and she disappears, and he's almost like 40, 47, they're nearing their 50s and all. Now after a point, in the process we find in her absence he's also dating few girls, right? But nothing seems to captivate him like she does. She has developed, or he himself has created that feeling. There's a call for desire in him which only she can answer. There's no other person in the universe who can respond to the call for desire like how she does. This is again a construct which he has mentally, but never is he happy or satisfied with any of the other feelings or any of the other infatuation which he was indulging in. Now later, towards the end, we find him dating a 20 years younger, hippie kind of a girl, and she also leaves him. Then this bad girl comes towards the fag end when he's in his 60s. Now at this point, she wants a signature from him, like saying, she wants to give him her house. Like there's a house which she has managed to save for herself that she wishes to give to him, and this time she's more weak, and there's this vaginal disease she has, and her breasts are operated, and there's this some incurable disease which she has developed, and it's pretty obvious that she's going to die very soon. So she wants to leave every little thing which she has to him, and they just settle back in a small house in Paris. So that's how the book ends. This is the plot. So now, I wanted to pick this book, as I told you initially, for the feeling I had. The love which the guy had for her was so much. I don't know if it's real. I don't know if it can exist in real world. But in the book, in the pages, it felt like it was like a castle to me. Every time he sees her, the compliments he gives her, never ever she encourages or she agrees to that, right? Although she's manipulative, she was straightforward in her needs and everything. But the way he saw her was so much, it will make you fall in love with the character, the way he sees her, every small move. And there'll be every time when they mate, when they consummate, it will be explained in words, but never even once it felt like a repetition. Throughout the book, you will have many instances where the consummation is described. But every time there'll be new words, and every time the reader will feel it's new, the passion they had, the missing during the absence period and all that. So the book gives you a lot of questions. Is she wicked? Is she really admirable? Is he really a good boy, knowing that he's being exploited at so many levels? He continues to be available for her. It gives you a lot of questions. What defines goodness in a person? What defines badness in a person? Will goodness be rightly rewarded? If he's that good, technically good things should happen to him, right? You're being good to someone, someone should be good to you at some point, right? Like, so it gives you a lot of questions. But irrespective of all the questions it raises, I think this book is an engaging read, if not an enticing one, right? So this book has a pattern. In the first half, we find the boy going behind her or hunting for her. In the second half, we find the girl, coming back to him. There are many patterns like that, and it also deals with the themes of depression, suicidal thoughts, and death, loss of a person. And throughout the book, we find historical references as well. Cuban Revolution and lot more, the change of government in Paris and all the military struggle. And something very notable about this is he travels. As I told you, he's an interpreter, right? He goes on errands to different cities, Egypt, England, all these places. It's described vividly. The streets, the culture of the city, and all of these, the food. The descriptions were quite, nice for the person to read it. And that's about the book. I have some quotes which I thought is very nice, so I'll share those. So basically, the gist of the book would be the good boy falls in love with the bad girl for all the wrong reasons, and he pays his dear life as a price for it. Though he's happy, though she's happy as well, at least in their terms, both of their search or their need was not consistently met. But they found their peace and joy in the little brief moments of so-called illicit meetings or whatever. In those brief moments, they were happy with each other, though in not the stereotypical forms, holding each other in arms or whatever, but they were happy. And those brief moments, the readers were also happy. But there's a tension in the reader throughout. Will she be consistent? Will she leave this time? What name will she take next time? Why is she continuing to exploit him? Or these questions are unsettling even after the book is done. But I think that's life. It gives you a lot of questions. You imagine your answers as the chapter proceeds. But I think the feeling you have as you move through the pages is very engaging, right? Love has different forms and it makes people do different things. You can't really rationalize how love works, right? You fall in love with a person, you don't know how it happened, even before you realize you're already head over heels, and you will easily fall out also. It's like you think it's an infatuation, but then it's rooted and it just stays in your mind. The obsession takes different forms and it makes you do different things. Though it's stupid to our eyes, though it's so irrational, though he's killing himself, he chooses to be there for her, and he cries for her sufferings. There was a scene when she comes after the surgery, when her breasts are taken and the private parts are sort of, after all the stitches and all, he touches the parts and he breaks down and cries like a baby. That moment is, that moment you'll feel his love for, the way he sees her. It's so enticing that you'll feel somehow let her be healed. Though she's bad, though she'll run away, let her be fine. So those moments are very enticing. And he had the undying a very pure, innocent love for her. And it's quite a surprise that despite being that good, only she seemed to exploit her. In real world, he'll be exploited by many people. So those aspects were quite touching for me. So these are my favorite parts. As a young girl, as a teenage girl, I loved the book even more. Now post-marriage and all of this, I find it engaging or enticing though. But yeah, I read some lines which I found it nice. I have collected some quotes to show you his perception of her and her perception of him. So we'll begin with some quotes which shows his love for her. So the first one, this is the night after they made for the first time. This was the happiest night of my life. I had never wanted anyone the way I wanted her. I would always love her. So this is just a very small piece. There are more intense lines. If you are up for it, you go check it out. I said yes, very. Like, yeah, I said yes, and that she was so attractive. I'd sell my soul to the devil. I'd sell my soul to the devil. This exactly happened actually. You know, he ended up being in a hellish circumstance. And that she was so attractive, and I'd sell my soul to the devil. I'd do anything if I could make love to her or even just kiss her. So all these lines, it might feel cringy to you right now because you're not with the trap. Maybe now I read this part alone, it feels like that. But when you're with the trap, you feel the only thing that runs in his mind is her. In reality, I don't know can any man be like that, or even a girl could be like that for that matter. But throughout anything he does, he's such a devoted guy. He takes lots of extra classes, Russian classes, Spanish classes, extra classes he takes, and he's such a devoted person. But despite all of that, 24/7, only thing running in her mind is this bad girl and his obsession for her. Yeah, and this part she says to him, "You will never live quietly with me, I warn you. Because I don't want you to get rid of me or get used to me. Even if we marry to straighten out my papers, I'll never be your wife. I always want to be your lover, your lapdog, your all like tonight, because then I'll always keep you crazy about me." Simply put, this is her understanding of him. And this part will show you what she wanted actually. "You're very nice, but you have a terrible defect. You're very nice, but you have a terrible defect. Lack of ambition. You're satisfied with what you have, aren't you? But it isn't anything, good boy. That's why I couldn't be your wife. You're satisfied with what you have, aren't you? But it isn't anything, good boy. That's why I couldn't be your wife. I'll never be satisfied with what I have. I'll always want more. I'll always want more." And this proper one line is the entire crux of the story. I'll always want more. She keeps wanting more, more and more. And yeah. And there's a small conversation about the quality or the nature of happiness. Now, if we were to define happiness, all of us have different take on happiness, right? Happiness is short-lived. Happiness, you can't define where actually happiness is from. What's happy for me cannot be really happy for you. Or something which was happy for you yesterday might not be the same for you tomorrow. So happiness is quite a complex thing. On some levels, it's also absurd. You'll be happy just staring through the window of a traveling busy road in a bus or something. Sometimes even a grand gesture of someone whom you love might not make you happy. So happiness is something which you can't rationalize. It's a feeling that is goes beyond. If it is concerning money. But towards the end, we find her telling him that being with you is my happiness. Towards the end, we find her coming to him, recognizing his love. But this time, she's all rotten in her. There's no more days left for her. But then she realizes yes, with you I felt happiness, with you there was more. But she can't stop herself from asking for more also, that's there. I'd only stay forever with a man who is very, very rich and powerful. That's her entire notion throughout. Um, and towards the end, this is the happiness dialogue. Once, so many years ago, in this very room, you asked me what I thought happiness was. Do you remember, good boy? And I said it was money, finding a man who was powerful and very rich. I was wrong. Now I know that you are happiness for me. It took almost 50 years for her to realize and tell this, right? After sleeping with stupid people around and after compromising so many things. But yeah. So that's about it. That's about the book. I think I'm done. I'm open for conversations. I mean, if you have anything to ask about the book. I mean, on different levels, I have related with this book at different points. You can take Madame Bovary, Gustav Flaubert's Madame Bovary, for instance. You can relate. People say Mario Vargas wrote this book as a reference to Flaubert's Madame Bovary. And also there's Imayam Senka, the small book where you find a man's endless obsession for a married lady. Like almost it drives him to a tragic death-like situation, but his obsession for her. So there are many books in literature where you find the male perspective of an endless female or endless obsession towards a particular female. They know it is distressing, they know it is tragic, they know it is bringing them down, they know it's not good for them, they know it's toxic, but they end up wanting the same thing. I would like to know what's your take on that. So with that, I think I'm done. Thank you for patiently listening to me.
Shall I say?
Please, sir.
At the outset, I would say I was mesmerized.
Thank you.
I was tongue-tied. I couldn't take my ears off you, right?
Yeah.
Because the way in which you were saying was so attractive, so encapsulating, so absorbing.
Thank you.
Really, after so many years, I have found a person who is matured above your age. You should be around 28, I believe.
I'm 26.
But you are really 55, my age.
Oh, thank you.
So beautiful, so gorgeously said things in such a... See, I'm like a hungry guy who is looking for delicious food, something which is scrumptious. Today I got that. Because I was looking forward to such a speech for a long time in my life. I got it here a couple of times. And today I think I got the toast. Something which is memorable, which is going to be etched in my memory. Your name, Alamelu Janaki, will be etched ever in my life for your exceptional proficiency and love towards reading. I believe that you are a voracious reader and you should be having a variety of books in your house like me. I really admire you and always I salute you for your multifaceted, multi-pronged approach towards life, and I wish you not this, much more than this, and I believe that you will be hogging the limelight more than what you are doing now in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And I'd like to thank my husband as well. He postponed his meeting and he decided to bring me here, and thank you, Kalyan, for being supportive. I'm like close to my due date, like next month is my due. So I don't think not everybody lets the travel and all. He was cribbing obviously, but then he brought me here. So thank you. Yeah, so and thank you, sir. It was very motivating.
I have become your fan.
Oh, thank you.
I loved your pronunciation, so beautiful. When you are speaking in English, you should speak like it. It should not be that I am a Tamilian, I will speak like a Tamilian. I will speak like a Telugu man, I will speak like a Hindi man. When I speak English, it should be English. That's what I believe. When I speak in Tamil, it will be Tamil only. I will speak like a Tamilian. I am a Konkan guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
I really, shall I use the word, I loved your speech.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
From my part, I really appreciate the effort what you have taken. And as you said, due dates are nearing you. Usually it is the tendency for a woman to take risks, be very cautious about the delivery and all these things. Apart from that, as a woman, that is a part of the life. You thought about that and you just move on to your journey on reading, and you came here to expose and explore and what to say, give an impact to others on the reading. I personally felt that you are a good reader, and I felt that I missed all those young age. I couldn't get it, and I really salute for your effort during this time you have taken. God bless you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you. Hi, ma'am. Actually, this is not the first time I'm listening to your speech. Already listened to you, Joy of Feelings. I am Alamelu of Tekalkala. Sanjay ma'am told a lot about you. Actually, I have the reading habit since childhood, but I am not an organ reader. I will read once in a while. After listening to your speech, lecture, Joy of Reading, you taught me to write book review. After that, at this stretch, I completed nearly 50 days during the COVID time. Actually, you are kind of motivated, like you got a twist in my head, being reader. And today as well, this is very good. Actually, this is like what I noticed. It will be very hard to write book review, noticing the multi-characteral fluctuations and different names of a single girl. She will have a different story in each and every name. It is hard. Actually, I learned this right now. Till today, I read books like character will have some motive. It will develop at the end of the novel, and it will be easy to read. But it is hard, and you will be a great job. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and it's inspiring to me as well. Thank you for reading more and continue doing so. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent. You are explaining this book. That is a mindful story for this. That is the success of the people. So you did it really. And then the book, whatever book, inside the book, I don't know. But they are telling you something about the love, and then the feelings of the person, and then how the girl is treating the person. In spite of that, the person is loving her. What made him to love her still, definitely it's very excellent. It's a real life actually. People are actually loving some people, and the thoughts they make them change their life also. But they will not disclose it. But it's going on. Yeah, it's a great. I definitely read the book.
Thank you.
And again, congratulations to you for the best one you have delivered here.
Thank you. Thank you. Various any questions? So thank you all. Thank you for sharing your passion today. Thank you. ரொம்ப சூப்பராக இருந்துச்சு. ஆக்சுவலாக எனக்கு என்னோட டெக்னிக்கலி என்னோட சீனியர் அலமேலு ஜானகி. நான் வந்து ரெசிடென்சியில் பிஹெச்டி ஜாயின் பண்ணுறப்ப எனக்கு முன்னாடி ப்ரீவியஸ் இயர் ஜாயின் பண்ணாங்க. ஸோ டெக்னிக்கலி ஷீஸ் மை சீனியர். இந்த கம்ஃபர்டர் அவள் தான். நான் காலேஜ் போகும்போது ஆக்சுவலி ஏலோ காலேஜ் படிக்கும் போது எனக்கு ஆல்மோஸ்ட் என்டையர் காலேஜே தெரியும். அங்கே போனாவே எனக்கு அங்கேருந்து வெளியே வரவே மனசு வராது. லீவ் விட்டால் ஏன்டா லீவ் விடுறாங்க அப்படி மாதிரி தோணும். ஆனால் பிரசிடென்சி காலேஜ் போகும்போது எப்படி இருந்துச்சுன்னா கண்ணை கட்டி காற்றுல விட்ட மாதிரி இருந்துச்சு. ஏன்டா வரும், எப்படா இங்கேருந்து போவோம் அப்படின்னு மாதிரி ஃபீல் இருந்துச்சு. அதுலேருந்து வெளியே கொண்டு வரதுக்கு வந்து எனக்கு ரொம்ப ஹெல்ப் பண்ணாங்க. ஓகே இவ வந்துட்டாலே ஓகே கம்பெனி கிடச்சிச்சு, ப்ராப்ளம் இல்லை, அதனால காலேஜ் வந்துட்டு அப்படின்னு ஃபீல் கிடைக்கும். ஷீஸ் அ வெரி குட் கம்பெனி. எல்லாமே ஸ்டாஃப்ஸ் இவங்க கைடுக்கும் இவருக்கும் விஷயம் பார்த்தா எனக்கு பொறாமையாக இருக்கும்.
இவங்க கைடு இவங்க இல்லாமல் சாப்பிட மாட்டாங்க. இவங்க வந்துட்டாங்கன்னா லஞ்ச் சாப்பிட உட்காந்தா கூட அலமேல வா சாப்பிடலாமா, இல்லை சார் நான் அப்புறம் சாப்பிட்றேன், ஓகே அப்புறம் ஒன்றாவே சாப்பிட நானும் வெயிட் பண்ணுறேன்பாங்க. அதுக்கப்புறம் எனக்கு ஓகே சார் அப்படி இவங்க வந்து அவங்களுக்காக சீக்கிரம் சாப்பிடலான்னு சொல்லுவோம். நான் அப்படியே நானும் இந்த கவிதான்னு ஒரு பொண்ணு இன்னொரு கைட் கிட்ட பிஹெச்டி பண்ணுறேன் அதே டிபார்ட்மெண்ட்டில் இருக்க காலேஜில். அப்போ சொல்லுவோம் எவ்வளோ அழகாக இருக்குது இவங்க இந்த கைட் அண்ட் கேட்ரிக்கல் ரிலேஷன்ஷிப் வந்து ரொம்ப சூப்பராக இருந்துச்சு. நான் ஆக்சுவலி இந்த மாதிரி பார்த்ததில்ல, நிறைய கைட் அண்ட் கேட்ரிக்கல் ரிலேஷன்ஷிப் வந்து நான் பார்த்துருக்கிறேன். பட் இந்த அளவுக்கு ஒரு அழகான ஒரு டாட்டர் அண்ட் டேட் ரிலேஷன்ஷிப் ரொம்ப சூப்பராக கொண்டு போவாங்க. ஸோ இவ்வளோ ரிலேஷன்ஷிப் வித் ஹர் கைட், வித் ஸ்டாஃப்ஸ், வித் ஹர் கோ பிஹெச்டி கேண்டிடேட்ஸ் ஆர் யூஜிபிஜி ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸோட ரிலேஷன்ஷிப் எல்லாமே வந்து வேறு லெவல். எல்லா ஏஜ் குரூப்ஸையும் பயங்கர ஃப்ரெண்ட்லியாக இருப்பாங்க. அப்போ தான் போக போக தெரிஞ்சு உங்களுக்கு எவ்வளோ திறமை ஒளிஞ்சிருந்துச்சு. எல்லாரும் எல்லாம் பேசுவா, நல்லா சிரிச்சு பேசுவா, ஜெண்டர் ஏஜ் எதையும் பார்க்க மாட்டா அப்படின்னு தான் தெரியும். அப்போ தான் போக போக தெரிஞ்சு ஒவ்வொன்றா தெரிய வருது, அப்பா என்னால் இவ்வளோ டேலண்டடான்னு சொல்லிட்டு ஒவ்வொரு திறமையாக அப்படியே வெளியே தெரிய வர ஆரம்பிச்சிருச்சு. ஆக்சுவலி இவங்க அந்த புக்கை பற்றி ரிவ்யூ பண்ணும்போது எனக்குள்ள என்னோட பர்சனல் லைஃப்பை பற்றி ஞாபகம் வந்துச்சு. இவங்க சொன்னாங்க தெரியுமா, இந்த பொண்ணுக்கு வந்து உடம்பு முடியாமல் போகிறப்ப அந்த ப்ரைவேட் பார்ட்ஸ்லாம் ரொம்ப சொல்லணும் அவங்க கண்ணு கலந்துச்சு. நீங்கள் நோட் பண்ணிங்களான்னு தெரியலை, கொஞ்சம் இன்னும் ஒரு செகண்ட் இன்னும் ஒரு பாயிண்ட் கொஞ்சம் இமோஷனல் ஆகினாலும் தண்ணி இப்படி வெளியே வந்திருக்கும். அப்படியே கண்ணு கலங்கி அந்த ஒரு உச்சக்கட்ட கண் கலங்கல தான் அவங்க அந்த இதெல்லாம் பேசினாங்க. எத்தனை பேருக்கு அது புரிஞ்சிச்சு, எத்தனை பேர் ஃபீல் பண்ணி, எத்தனை பேர் கவனிச்சு லவ்வை பற்றி நிறைய பேருக்கு வெளியே வந்து தெரியாது. ஜெல்லினுக்கு தெரிஞ்சிருக்கும். லியோன்னு சொல்லிட்டு என் பிரதர் லா அண்ணி 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 ரொம்ப பாசமாக இருப்பான் என் மேலே. நான் சொன்னேன் யாருமே சொல்ல, அவன் வெளியே வாயை விட்டு சொல்ல மாட்டேன் எங்கள் அண்ணியை ரொம்ப பிடிக்கும், எங்கள் அண்ணியே எனக்கு புரியுது அப்புறம் சொல்ல மாட்டான் வாயை விட்டு. சிலர் என்ன நினச்சிப்பாங்கன்னா இவ தான் அவங்க பாசமாக இருக்கான்னு சொல்லிட்டு இருக்கிறா, ஒன்றும் பெருசாக அவன் மேலே பாசமான இல்லை, இவ சும்மா சொல்லிட்டு இருக்கிறா, இப்படிதான் எல்லாரும் சொல்லுவாங்க, யாரும் நம்ப மாட்டாங்க. இப்போ ரீசனாக எனக்கு ஆல்ரெடி சொல்லியிருக்கிற லாரி ஆக்சிடென்ட் ஆச்சு எனக்கு ஒரு 2 months பேக். ரைட் முட்டி ஃபுல்லாக டேமேஜ் ஆகி கொஞ்சம் வெட்டஸில் இருந்தேன். அப்போ என்ன ஆயிடுச்சு, ஃபஸ்ட்டு வந்து ஹாஸ்பிட்டல் போகிறதுக்காக இந்த கோ சிஸ்டரை என்னை கூட்டிகிட்டு போகிறதுக்கு வந்திருந்தாங்க. என்னோட டாக்டரே அவங்க டாக்டரே பெருவில் பார்த்துட்டு கோ சிஸ்டர் ஹாஸ்பிட்டல் கூட்டிகிட்டு போகிறதுக்கு வந்திருந்தாங்க வீட்டுக்கு. கீழே இறங்க முடியலை. எங்கள் வீட்டில் லிஃப்ட்டு கிடையாது. ஃபஸ்ட்டு வந்து கீழே படிக்கட்டில் கால் எடுத்து சுத்தமாக வைக்கவே முடியலை. அப்போ இந்த பிரதர்லாம் வந்து என்னை எப்படி லிட்டரலி தூக்கிட்டு போய் தான் கீழே விட்டாங்க. இந்த ஒரு பாட்டில் உள்ள ரஜினி அவங்க அம்மா அப்படி தூக்கிட்டு போவாங்க தெரியுமா, அந்த மாதிரி அன்னி தூக்கதா 2 3 வாட்டி கேட்டாங்க. நான் ஒன்றுமே சொல்லலை, அமைதியாக இருந்தேன். சரி நம்மளே நடந்ததா சொல்லிட்டு ரொம்ப கஷ்டப்பட்டு அந்த காலை எடுத்து கீழே வைக்க ட்ரை பண்ணேன். அப்படியே எனக்கு கண்ணு கலங்குது, கீழே நீ வைக்க முடியலை. அவனுக்குள்ள எஸ்ஸானோ எதுவுமே சொல்லாமல் அப்படியே அமைதியாக இருந்தேன். ஐ வாஸ் இமோஷனலி ஸ்பீச்லெஸ். அதுக்கப்புறம் அவன் இதுக்கு மேலே வந்து கேட்க வேணும், நம்மளே தூக்கிலான்னு சொல்லிட்டு அழகாக அப்படி தூக்கிட்டு வந்து கீழே விட்டான். ஸோ அந்த மாதிரி அன்புன்னு ஒன்று இருந்தால் வெளியே நான் லவ் பண்ணுறேன், அன்பே ஆர்வம் எனக்கு ரொம்ப பிடிக்கும் அப்படின்னு வெளியே சொல்லி ப்ரூவ் பண்ணணும்னு அவசியம் கிடையாது. நம்மளுக்கு ஒரு கஷ்டம்னு வரும்போது அவங்க நம்மளை வந்து பார்க்குறாங்களா, நம்மளை பார்த்துக்கிறாங்களா, நம்மளுக்கு ஃபோன் வர முடியல ஃபோன் பண்ணி நம்ம கேட்குறாங்களா, இது நம்மளுக்கு கஷ்டம் வரும்போது அவங்க நமக்கு எவ்வளோ சப்போர்ட்டாக இருக்கிறாங்க. அதுதான் அன்போட வெளிப்பாடு. வழிய நார்மல் எனக்கு இவங்களை பிடிக்கும், இவங்களை விட்டு கொடுக்க மாட்டேன், இப்படி நார்மல்ஸ் எந்த சுச்சுவேஷன் வராத எப்படின்னு சொல்லி 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 ப்ரூவ் பண்ணுறதுலாம் ஒன்றும் அவசியம் கிடையாது. சில அந்த இன்சிடென்ட் ஞாபகம் வந்துச்சு. எப்படி அந்த பொண்ணு கொட முடியாமல் இருக்கிறப்ப அந்த பையன் அழுதான், குழந்த மாதிரி அழுதான், கதறி அழுதான், எவ்வளோ அழகாக பார்த்துக்கிட்டான் அப்படின்னு சொல்கிறப்ப எனக்கு இந்த உட முடியாத சூழ்நிலை, நான் இந்த ப்ரெக்னெண்ட்டாக இருக்கிற டைமில், என்னை குழந்தை பிறந்த டைமில், இந்தமாதிரி சுச்சுவேஷன்ஸ்லாம் வந்து என்னை சுற்றி இருக்கிற மக்கள் என்கிட்ட எப்படி இருந்தாங்க, எவ்வளோ கேரிங்காக பார்த்துக்கிட்டாங்கன்னு சொல்லிட்டு நீங்கள் சொல்ல சொல்ல நான் இந்த மெமரிஸ் எல்லாமே ரீகால் பண்ணிக்கோங்க. அதே மாதிரி இன்னொரு பர்சன் ஜெனிஃபர் கிரேஸ்ன்னு சொல்லிட்டு எல்கேஜிலேருந்து நானும் அவளும் ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸு. ரைட் ஃப்ரம் 3 years அவளுக்கு நான் தான் ஃபஸ்ட் ஃப்ரெண்ட், எனக்கும் அவள் தான் ஃபஸ்ட் ஃப்ரெண்டு. எங்கள் விஷயம் பார்த்தாலுமே வெளியே யாரும் பெஸ்ட் ஃப்ரெண்ட் சொல்லிக்கவே மாட்டாங்க. ஏன்னா நாங்கள் வந்து வருஷத்துக்கு ஒரு வாட்டி கூட பார்க்குறது டவுட்டு, 6 months once ஃபோன் கால் பேசுறது கூட டவுட்டு தான். என்ன அவங்க பெஸ்ட் ஃப்ரெண்டுங்கிறாங்க, லைக் எதிர்க்க வீடு தான், பட் இவங்க பார்க்க மாட்டாங்க பேச மாட்டாங்க மாதிரி தான் போகும். பட் அவளும் அதே மாதிரி நீ எனக்கு குழந்தை பிறந்து ஃபஸ்ட் பிரெஸ்ட் ஃபீட் பண்ண வச்சதே அவள் தான். அந்த மாதிரி எனக்கு ஏஜ் அட்டென்ட் பண்ணுறப்ப ஒரே ஸ்கூல் படித்தோம், எனக்கு என்ன பண்ணுறது கூட தெரியாது. ஸ்கூலுக்கு போவேன், ஏஜ் அட்டென்ட் பண்ணி அந்த மாதிரி மந்த்லி டைமில் என்ன பண்ணி எப்படி ஹேண்டில் பண்ணி தெரியலப்போ அவள் கூட இருந்து எல்லாமே எனக்கு பண்ணி கொடுப்பாள். சரி எனக்கு ஒரு நீடுன்னு வரப்போ அவன் என் கூட வந்து நிற்பாபடியாக அதை தவிர எனக்கு அவனுக்கு எங்களுக்கு விஷயம் இருக்காது. சரி வெளியே பார்க்குறப்ப அடிக்கடி மீட் பண்ணி பேசுறது வச்சு உங்கள் உறவை தீர்மானிக்கிறாங்க. எனக்கு கஷ்டம்னு வரப்போ நம்மளோட யார் இருக்கிறா, அந்த வச்சு ஒரு உறவை பெருசா மக்கள் தீர்மானிக்கிறது கிடையாது. ஸோ எனக்கு வந்து என்னோட க்ளோஸ் ஃப்ரெண்டு, என்னோட க்ளோஸ் ரிலேட்டிவ், இவங்களுக்கு எனக்குள்ள ஒரு அந்த ஹோலியான ரிலேஷன்ஷிப் பற்றி வெளியே யாருக்குமே தெரியாது. சொன்னாலும் நம்ப மாட்டாங்க. அதெல்லாம் உண்மைன்னு சொல்லி மேற்கொண்டு எனக்கு புரிய வச்சிங்க. ரொம்ப அழகாக உங்கள் ரிவ்யூ இருந்துச்சு, ரொம்ப ஹார்ட் டச்சிங்காக இருந்துச்சு. தேங்க்யூ ஸோ மச்.
தேங்க்யூ.
வந்திருக்கிறீங்க இன்னைக்கு நியூ கம்மர்ஸ்